Hi, I'm Christine Tulley, President and Executive Writing Coach for Defend and Publish, and this is episode 51, The Non-Academic Old You. I'm starting today with a little anecdote about what I thought I was going to do for a career for the rest of my life. And I think at this time in the year, it's the end of December when this episode is coming out of 2021, it's always a good time to sort of revisit who you used to be. So as a child or as a teenager, something else that maybe you liked to do in the past. And this occurred to me because I remember distinctly sometime in the mid 80s as a child, I was watching a movie called Club Med. So it was a movie that was produced in 1986. It's quite kind of a terrible movie, but fantastic at the same time. Bill Maher's in it and Linda Hamilton from The Terminator. But it's basically all about the resorts, the all-inclusive resorts, the Club Med, and what happens at one of these places. And it's this tale that all these people come and stay at a Club Med, and I just was fascinated by this movie. I thought that would be the coolest job in the world, to be like the lead character. I remember his name was O'Shea. I think Jack Scalia maybe played him. I don't know. But one of the things that I thought was really cool about this position was he was the director of this Club Med. And so it was basically like an island resort. It was tropical. There were palm trees. It was kind of away from the real world. And he just directed everything that happened at this resort. And I thought that would be a fantastic career. And, I really thought that's what I was going to do. I wanted to be, a director at a resort, go into hospitality management, or possibly into marketing or something like that, and do that. And so I did start thinking in that way. I actually started my undergraduate career as a business person. Did not work out. I became an English major, and that's how I'm here. But at the time, I think it's really important to think back about, well, what did I like to do before? What was that thing in that previous career that I liked to do before? And when I got to thinking about it, I knew one of the things that I sort of liked about that movie was how that person, this director of this Club Med, was the problem solver. So when something was going wrong at the resort, that person was the person to fix it. And I thought that would just be really kind of cool to oversee that. But I remember the other thing that I really liked about that is that the whole point of a resort, for those privileged people that can go to one of those and can afford to go to one of those, is that they're having a very nice vacation. There's no problems in the world. All the food and beverages are included. There's salsa dancing every night, or there's some fun and games, or there's gambling, or whatever is going on there. And when I was thinking about this a little bit, one of the things I also liked about that type of a job was that person's job was to make sure everybody else was having fun. And so it kind of was some interesting insight the other day when I thought about this, because I thought about, well, yes, now I'm an English professor. I am not a glamorous Club Med director, which, just off topic, I did come to find out was not actually that glamorous. I listened to someone that actually had one of those positions come and speak at my university. And I found out they work like 80 hours a week because they're always catering to everybody else's needs. So I think I dodged a bullet there. But one of the things that came to me was that, I do like to think about how can we solve writing challenges, and how can we have fun as academics writing. And I don't mean fun as in we're going to enjoy every minute of every day when we write. I don't feel that way. But there is sort of that deeper level satisfaction of producing good ideas and having a real connection with your research or your subject matter. And for a lot of us working on research now, in different areas like social justice or in the health areas, a lot of us are thinking about, things that are solving problems in the world. And for folks that are out there in, say, literature, philosophy, we're often told that, our work is not practical, or it doesn't have practical applications. But, I know this argument has been made many times before, but certainly our contributions are describing the human experience to some extent. So, just getting back then is what I'm trying to encourage folks to do during this week, because probably and hopefully many of you are taking a little bit of a holiday break for your writing, since many institutions are closed, at least in the US, around the time of December 25th. So One of the things I would encourage you to do during this week is just kind of think about things you used to like to do, or alternatively, things that you do in your non-academic life. So for example, I mean, many people are cooking on Twitter. I have lots of academic friends that always show all these cool things that they made, that they cooked or that they baked. That's amazing. Or, crafts that they're doing, or, some other outside interests. And one of my outside interests, I know I've mentioned this on another episode, was that I like to play the guitar. I started playing like 5 years ago. Now I play all the time. I'm really into it. So I think about that as another way to kind of get, another part of my life that's non-academic. And all of this to say is that one of the reasons, and I know in episode 50, we talked about joyful academic writing. One of the reasons I think that academic writing becomes not joyful to us is because we don't bring in those other elements of our lives that we actually think are fun. So somewhere along the line, we've drawn the line that that's work, that's not fun, and me playing the guitar, or someone else baking, that is fun. And what I'm trying to think through a lot this year, this is actually one of my New Year's goals, is to sort of think about how can I make more of those things in other parts of my life that I might say are non-academic to connect to parts of my academic life. And so here's a couple of things. I mean, I get the fun of being the Club Med director of Defend and Publish. So I'm already doing one of those things. It sort of happened by accident when I became the president of this company. I didn't think of it in that way when I bought it, but I am thinking of it in that way now. So, I know there's one way that I'm able to do that. But let's take something like the guitar. When I come home after work, lots of times I'll play the guitar, and I try to play a song or two a day or something like that. And one of the things that really helped, of course, with this, and other people have mentioned this, is that doing those other types of activities, a lot of times you are sort of mulling over your academic problem. So right there, a boundary between academic and non-academic work often is collapsed, because you're thinking about your research or your projects a lot of times in the back of your mind when you're doing other things. But something else that got me thinking a little bit was that, what are things I need to do to play the guitar that are also things that I might be able to apply to my writing? And so one of the things that I thought of, and I've mentioned this in previous episodes, I'll link to a couple in the show notes because it's actually in many episodes, too many to mention here. But one of the things that I like to do when I play the guitar is I try to think about it's sort of like, what's my organizational strategy for approaching playing a song? That would be the same for approaching a writing project. And what I mean by that is, for some songs, I like to sit down when I play them. Sometimes I like to stand up because I need to, have a little bit more room to move my elbow, or to, hold a pick in a certain way. So that would be one example. Another example would be, how do I know what it is I'm going to play when I sit down? I definitely do not have some kind of a guitar ritual at the moment where I know immediately when I sit down what it is I'm going to do. And so I have to think of that in the moment, on the fly. And so one of the things that I'm going to do in an upcoming episode is talk through ways to get started, because I think that is one thing that a lot of academics, even experienced ones, struggle with. So one way to maybe get around that problem for right now is think about, well, how do I start other things? How do I start baking, or playing tennis, or playing the guitar, or whatever it is, refurnishing furniture? How do I get started doing those kinds of things? Yeah, so I think this is a good way to maybe think through how you can connect your academic and non-academic lives just during this time of year when we're in a little bit of an introspective mood, and we're trying to figure out different ways that we might approach writing as we get into the new year. So if you're not sure and you can't remember any time before being an academic because you're bogged down in administration or graduate school or whatever it is that you're doing, another really good thing to do is just look through an old family photo album, or ask relatives if you're getting together with anyone at the holidays. Find out what it is that you used to like to do. I'm not totally surprised, just to close this up, so I'm not totally surprised that I became an English professor, because I always liked to read and write as a child. Always. I was always, writing stories and drawing comic books and like all that kind of stuff. So I'm not surprised that's where I ended up again. But you might be able to find that your academic career isn't so far afield of what you thought were your hobbies or your interests before you got to that point. So just something to consider this week. And for everybody that is celebrating a holiday at this time of year, happy holidays, and we will talk more with you next week. Happy writing, or non-writing if you took a break this week.